Hi everyone, this is Rebecca Keppel. I am super excited to be here on ThermOWeb's YouTube channel today. In this video, I am sharing 5 different card designs and I'm sharing 5 ways to use the Flock Transfer Sheets. I'm going to be using the new colors of Flock Transfer Sheets. It's a collaboration between Rina Designs and ThermOWeb. It is called Electro-Pop Neon. And so let me show you these new colors and then let's get started with some techniques that are really fun to use with them. Okay, these are the brand new colors from the collaboration between Rina and ThermOWeb, the Electro-Pop Neon Flock. And I just love how bright they are. There are ink colors to match as well. So the first color that we're going to take a look at is this Poppin' Pink. And again, there's ink colors to match. There's Loud Lime, Hello Yellow, and Orange Glow. So those are the new colors of the Flock Transfer Sheets. I am today going to share 5 different ways to use these Flock Transfer Sheets. I previously done a video for ThermOWeb. I'm going to link to it up here in the corner of 5 ways to use Flock Transfer Sheets. So these are 5 other ways to use Flock Transfer Sheets, and we're going to feature the Electro-Pop Neon in today's video. So for this first card, we are actually going to use the brand new ThermOWeb Duo Gel. And once you use the gel over a stencil and let it dry, it does dry clear. And the great thing about the Duo Gel is that you can either send it through a laminator or you can send it through your die cut machine. So I just cut a piece of the flock. You can see that I put the flock face down onto the Duo Gel. This is my Gemini sandwich that I'm going to send it through. So again, that flock color is going to be face down, not like the foil where it's face up. I'm going to send that through my die cut machine, and when it comes out, then you can see that the pressure adheres the flock to the dried Duo Gel. So, and you get all that great texture. So over a stencil with this brand new Duo Gel is one way to use the Flock Transfer Sheets. So you can do it in a small surface like this, or you could do it with a large background as well. So those little donuts and the frosting for the donuts are from the Sweet Stuff Stamp and Stencil line. That's also a collaboration between Rina and ThermOWeb. I'm going to use a sentiment from that line as well. I put some anti-static on my paper and I am stamping the sentiment with Versamark ink. And then I'm just going to cover it with some white embossing powder and then heat set that. I really like the way that the white looks on that blue cardstock, and I think it goes perfectly with the bright colors of the donuts as well. Okay, I'm going to use some Rina Designs for ThermOWeb dot roller adhesive to adhere that blue square down. I am going to pop up that little green Loud Lime donut with some Rina Designs for ThermOWeb white foam squares. I'm just going to take off those little protective backings and then pop that up right next to it. And that is starting to come together, but I thought it needed a little bit of scallop. So I die cut some scallops from the white Deco foil flock sheets, and I'm just going to adhere them straight to the cardstock. So I'm not going to do any specialty adhesives this time. I'm just going to use the dot roller adhesive to adhere them down. And I love the way that that little hint of scallop looks along with the donuts. Okay, for this card, we are just going to use the Flock Transfer Sheets behind a die cut. So I have trimmed it down to fit right behind that big dots die cut, and I'm going to put a little bit of the dot roller adhesive on my card panel there. It's the card base that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I'm just going to adhere the entire sheet down. That's a whole piece of flock down to the card base. Now when I'm adhering the die cut down to the flock, I am going to use the Ultra Bond adhesive. Because of the flock, I really want to make sure that it sticks, and Ultra Bond will keep it there for good. So I'm just going to hold that down, and now there's a space on the die cut that's perfect for stamping my sentiment. I'm using versafine black onyx ink, and I am using a sentiment from Sending Sunshine Stamp and Stencil collection. Now I'm going to stamp a pineapple from that same stamp collection there, and this time I am going to use the neon inks that coordinate. So I'm using the Hello Yellow for the base of the pineapple. Then for the second layer of the pineapple, I am going to use the orange, and all of these colors will be linked as soon as we have them in. I will link them in the description below. And then finally, I'm going to use the last stamp, which is the greenery at the top of the pineapple, and I'm going to stamp that in the Screamin green. So now that I have my pineapple die cut, I am going to pop that up on some of the foam squares, the white ones from Gina K Designs for ThermOWeb, and then place that right on my card front. And that flock behind the die cut really reminds me of those books for little kids where it says, you know, pet the bunny here and it's a flock. So another way to use these flock transfer sheets, especially the neon, is to stamp on them, but with a white pigment ink. So it just slightly tones down the color. You could use these on any of the flock transfer sheets, of course, this pigment ink. I'm using Hero Art's white unicorn pigment ink, and I stamp it multiple times to really get a good impression. So I am using my Misty so that I can stamp it multiple times and get it right in the same spot. So you can see that the surrounding color is still super, super bright, and I just kind of toned down the color a little bit with that white pigment ink. So depending on what kind of look you're going for, you can use that to tone down the color a little bit. I'm going to spray a little bit of the pixie spray on the back of my stencil. I move my cardstock out of the way when I do that so that some of the pixie spray is on my mat, and that holds my cardstock in place when I lay it down on that pixie spray. So I am just using some Distress Oxide inks here. I am using Spiced Marmalade, Squeezed Lemonade, and then Twisted Citron over the stencil that actually goes with the sweet stuff. I just like that kind of grid background. It's supposed to be for like an ice cream cone, like that crosshatch background, but I think it looks really pretty with florals as well. So I use it kind of all the time. So I liked the stripe at the side, so I decided to keep that. And then I just needed to finish off the top there because I had the top of the stencil covering the top of the card. So I just needed to add a little bit more color at the top there. And then I didn't like the line between the yellow and the green on the edge, so I just wanted to blend that out. But I love the way that looks. I like the strip and then the stencil effect. So now I'm going to use some VersaFine Black Onyx ink to stamp the Hello Beautiful sentiment. That is from Sending Sunshine, as well as the flowers and the leaves are from Sending Sunshine as well. And you can see that that pigment ink, it dries really nicely, and you can still see the details of the stamp, but it also, like I mentioned, tones down the color a little bit if you're looking for something just a little bit lighter or just like to have a different effect. So now I'm going to use some foam squares from Gina K for ThermOWeb to pop up that main flower, and I decided it needed that floral center, so I am using the iridescent Glitz to just cover up the stencil there and add that flower center. Speaking of glitz, another way that you can use these flock transfer sheets is to add glitz on top of them. And that is just a way to add so much texture. So you have the texture of the flock transfer sheets, you have the texture of the glitz gels, it also adds some dimension on top of it. So I did use some purple tape to tape off the side of the stencil because I just wanted to cover the dots. I didn't have a lot of the iridescent left in my little jar, so I am using my palette knife rather than the stencil pal there, just because I was scooping and then placing it at the same time. I'm just going to lift that up, and you have to see this. It's amazing. So you get the glitter, glitz, shine, you get the dimension from that as well, and then you get the texture from the flock, and I just love the effect of that. I'm going to use a strip of that on some pink cardstock, just flip that over and use some scissors to trim off the excess there. And then I am going to add a sentiment and a stamp image from the Sweet Stuff stamp and stencil line. So I stamped the cupcake wrapper in the Blair Blue, and now I'm going to stamp the frosting in the Poppin' Pink. I love that you have the option of just using the layering stamps if you want, or there are the stencils that you can add additional effects to them, like the Glitz gels or the Duo gels with the flock or all kinds of things. So the last way that I am going to use the flock is by using the Blanco gel, which is a brand new gel, and it's great for working on dark colors because it does not dry clear, it dries white. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp these flowers from the Sending Sunshine collection, and I'm going to stamp them in Poppin' Pink, Blaring Blue, and then I think Hello Yellow. So I'm going to stamp these three colors, and it would totally work if you use the Duo gel with colors like this. But if you were if you were using gel on black or navy, you would really want to use the Blanco gel because, like I said, it dries white rather than clear. And the benefit to that is that if what effect you're using on top is anything that's not completely opaque, you won't be able to see through. It'll still show up that nice true color. So I'm going to use that on these three colors to show you how nicely the flock sheets transfer onto these flowers. So I'm using the stencil from the Sending Sunshine collection, and you can see there that I'm using that little flower as my flower center, and I'm just using a small palette knife because I just want the Blanco gel just in this area. So you can see there I got a little bit on the outside just from the edge of the stencil. That's okay because we're going to be die cutting these anyway. So just a tiny bit, and look at how white and opaque that is. The great thing is that it dries just as white and just as opaque. And so, like I said, if you're working on really dark colors, here they're not that dark, but I just wanted to share with you how easy it is to work with this. Okay, so I am now going to use my sentiment from Sending Sunshine, and I'm going to stamp that with versafine black onyx ink on a piece of white cardstock that is smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I am going to use some of the Gina K Designs gingham. It's the gingham fancy ribbon in black and white, and I'm just going to tie a knot, and then I am going to cut some tails. Now I always do this. I always cut in the wrong direction, and then I have to recut the tail even shorter, which is fine because I just wanted a little knot here. I didn't want a huge like bow or anything, but I just love this little gingham, and especially with flowers, I think it's so much fun. Okay, so now my panel is ready. I'm going to use some of the dot roller adhesive to lay this on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of pink cardstock. And now I am ready to place the flock on the Blanco gel. Same way as you did with the Duo, you're going to do the flock side facing the Blanco gel, put it in a little piece of parchment, and run it through your laminator. That's the only thing about the Blanco gel. You do have to use the laminator with that one. So now I have all three, and I'm just going to peel them off, and I just love the effects of the flock when you use it with a stencil, whether it's a small stencil or a background stencil. I just think it looks so pretty. So I'm going to adhere 2 of the flowers down flat to the card with the dot roller adhesive. And I love doing this where you stamp one color and then you have a different color of flock in the flower center. I just think that looks so cute. For my last flower, I am using those foam squares once again to pop it up because I just love working with some dimension and some flat to the card. I just think that's so much fun to have varying degrees of dimension. So that completes our 5th card. And that is 5 other ways to use the Deco Flock Transfer Sheets. So we used Glitz, we did them behind die cuts, we used the Blanco gel, we used the Duo gel, and we used white pigment ink to tone down the color. I hope you enjoyed all these techniques. I hope you'll give them a try, and you can use them on the Flock Transfer Sheets you already have, but as soon as these brand new fun Electro-Pop neon ones are available, we will link them all down in the description below. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. Have a wonderful day.